Let's begin with the easiest subtest for you. So, listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Which subtest do you find easiest and why?
Okay, well, I guess speaking, speaking is the easiest subtest for me, generally because I can carry a conversation with people, and the format for the speaking test is relatively easy. So I just had to get used to speaking for 2 straight minutes. Imagine 2 straight minutes, and I don't normally time myself, when I talk to people. But otherwise, I think I did well in that subtest.
Thank you for that, Miss Sel. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a nurse going to the United States of America, speaking, by the way, is the most important subtest. It doesn't matter which English examination you take because speaking is always the subtest with a higher band score requirement as compared to the other components. Let's take IELTS for example. In order for you to work in an American hospital, you need a 7 in speaking and 6.5 overall band score. The question is how to get 6.5 overall band score. The recommendation, you have to get around 6 for listening, around 6 for reading, and around 6 for writing. And when you have a 7 in speaking, that will give you 6.5 overall band score. But someone good in math told me, excuse me, when you get the average, 7 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 divided by 4, that is not 6.5, that is 6.25. And I said, thank you so much for your mathematical insight. It's just that in the IELTS, there's no such thing as 0.25 and 0.75. So the moment you get an average of 0.25, that is rounded up to 6.5. If you get an average of 6.75, that is rounded up to 7.0. So if you get 7 in speaking and 6 in 3 components, that will give you 6.5 overall. So what did you notice? The band score requirement for speaking is higher than listening, reading, and writing. So as Miss Tel mentioned, this is the subtest that she considered to be easy, knowing that it does not require mastery of, let's say, ecotourism or globalization or specialist knowledge. All you have to do is to be yourself and express what you want to say without trying to impress the examiner. So, if Miss Estelle found the speaking subtest easy, what about the most challenging subtest for you? And what did you do during your preparation in order for you to make sure that you pass this most challenging subtest?
Okay, so I guess reading, I consider reading the most challenging for me because I really don't read a lot. I also have a very short attention span, so I get distracted easily. So imagine when I found out that I have an hour to do a reading test, okay? But imagine, but um, but technically, when I started doing my review course, and I found out that there are techniques, there are techniques to actually enable myself to complete the test on time, and because I was able to use the mock test as well as um, have more practices during my the course of my review, I was able to build these techniques and ensure that I pass my IELTS reading subtest. So in a way, while it was challenging, it also taught me some new skills, and I actually apply it now when I do read my whatever material I have to read.
Ms. Nell is actually not wrong. Why? If you look at the national average of candidates taking the IELTS, people usually get a higher grade in the speaking subtest as compared to reading. Our national
Mm.
average in speaking is 6.8, and that's near 7.0. But what about reading? National average is 6.3. Now, this is not a secret that more people find the reading subtest to be challenging, especially in this day and age when people love to watch, people love to listen to podcasts, but it's not really a hobby of people to read books, especially the printed sort. So, I have good news for you if you are like Miss Del, who finds the reading subtest more challenging than the others. Take note that if you are planning to go to the United States of America, USA, CGFNS, True Merit, Joseph Silney, and even the state boards of nursing typically do not require a specific grade in the reading subtest. So, someone asked me, what if I got 5.5 in reading? Can I still work in the United States of America as a registered nurse? The answer is yes. Remember, all you have to do is to look at your overall band score and speaking. So speaking must be 7 and then overall band score must be 6.5. But how does this work? If you get 5.5 in reading, make sure you are going to do better in another subtest so that it's going to pull up the average. Say, for instance, if you get a 7 in speaking, 6.5 in listening, 6 in writing, 5.5 in reading, that is still more than enough for you to work in the United States. So don't worry if you encounter true, false, not given, or matching headings in the reading subtest. So AMN Healthcare International sponsors the review program for their nurses. So when you qualify for this scholarship or sponsorship, after you pass your NCLEX, you are sent over to 9.09er English. Now, I'd like to ask Miss Stell, which of the techniques and the test-taking strategies of 9.09er English did you find to be most effective to help you pass and ace your English examination?
Okay. So actually, Sir Irving, it's a combination, no, of all the available um, review tips and tools that Niner gave us. So, for example, I really took advantage of the regular coaching for speaking and writing. So I would alternate that every day to fine tune my skills in speaking and writing, and also to lessen my nervousness for the test. The mere fact that I'm able to talk to a coach every day, that also lessens my shyness. No? As a matter of fact, even now I'm shy. so so, but because of the constant practice that I have with the coaches, I was able to deliver on my speaking and writing test to the best that I can. No? And I was able to put the comments of my coaches to memory because I remember friends were saying you have to memorize so many things, and I said I cannot memorize these things, but because of constant practice, I would actually put it to memory. So it became like a routine. No? Eventually, even the corrections came automatic to me already. So that took care of my speaking and writing. Now, my reading and listening exam, obviously, I had to rely on the mock test that I would be exposed to. I was able to use the ones from Niner at the same time the ones that British Council gave me. So when I used all of these, I developed my own technique. Of course, the best is the scheme and scam for reading, and then also note taking for listening. So once I mastered that, it got easier already. So the more I participate with all the online mock exams of Niner, the easier it got, especially because the 3 hour um, online mock exam that Niner has, we normally have this about 2 or 3 times a week. It allowed my mind to work for 3 hours. I had to make sure it's like endurance training for endurance swimming. I had to make sure that my mind was ready to work for 3 hours, and that actually got me through the test. If it weren't for that, I think by 1 hour palang, by 1 hour I'm already gone.
Miss L is actually right when she said holistic approach. Well, AMN Healthcare International knows that, yes, there are a lot of
True.
free videos on YouTube. It's just that free videos are not enough. That's because you cannot ask questions when you're watching a video. So 9.09er English offers daily one-on-one coaching in speaking and writing, and that got the attention of AMN Healthcare International. So AMN endorses the nurses to us without these nurses paying a single centavo because, again, it's sponsored by AMN. And then once they're done with their speaking lecture, that's when they go for one-on-one coaching. And this is an important exercise because you're talking to a human being every single day. Sometimes you're at home, you're forced to talk to the people in your first language. Say, for instance, I'm Bisaya. So when I talk to my family members, obviously, we communicate in Bisaya. It sounds rather awkward when we're going to speak in English, and yet we know that everyone shares the same first language, which is Bisaya. But when the nurses are endorsed to us, they are forced to communicate in English during the speaking coaching. It's like having a speaking buddy. But the big difference is your speaking buddies are not necessarily connoisseurs of the English language. At 9.09 English, our coaches have not just taken, they have aced the examination. So they are more than credible to coach the candidates. So what our reviewees get, tips on how to improve their strength and also what to do with their weaknesses. Typically, the nurses wait for the go signal of our coaches. And once they have the go signal, that's when they register for the examination and take the test. So that's the beauty of AMN 9.09er and British Council collaboration. First, AMN screens the applicants, and those who are worthy of a free English review and free English examination are sent over to us. We are the one giving them live lectures, recorded videos if they cannot attend the live and interactive version, and then daily one-on-one coaching. And when they are ready to take the exam, we endorse them to the British Council for them to take the actual examination. So speaking of IELTS and the British Council, Maristel, we know for a fact that there are so many English examinations available in the market, but I'd like to ask you personally, why IELTS and not the other English exams?
Okay. Okay. So, well, first of all, I haven't really decided yet where to go. And my friends have told me that IELTS is the most is widely accepted all over the US. So rather than make the wrong choice, I might as well go with the sure winner. And because of this, I decided to just go for IELTS, and I said I'll just take my exam and then I will decide later on where to go. At least I know that IELTS is accepted all over the US. So that was
That
my first consideration.
That's actually correct because there are so many English exams. It's just that if you choose the other English examinations, they are not accepted in certain states. So, what some nurses do, they take an English examination and then all of a sudden, when they apply in a particular state, they are informed, okay, the English examination that you took is actually not acceptable in our state. So we need you to take IELTS or TOEFL. So many nurses have to go back to their review or preparation just because they took an English examination not accepted in their target state. So why is it that the messaging of AMN Healthcare International is for nurses to take IELTS? Well, IELTS is the only English examination that's accepted literally by all states. So you hit two birds with one stone. By taking the IELTS, you're able to secure your visa screen certificate. And number two, not repeat your English exam because regardless of your destination or target state, IELTS is accepted. So now it boils down to two remaining options, Miss Tal, for your testing center because in the Philippines, there are two testing centers that you can choose from. But why did you choose the British Council as your official testing center for the IELTS?
Okay. So again, I'm the kind of person that just goes one at a time. So, and I don't want to get stressed anymore. So when I joined Niner at the same time, of course, my next question is, how do I go about enrolling for my test? And by that time, they had already said, why don't you just go with British Council because we have a partnership, we have a long-term partnership already, so you might just want to try them. So as far as I'm concerned, I will not doubt that anymore. I will just work with the best agencies, and so there I was. Especially because they also helped me register for the exam, so everything was so easy. It's like um, it's like I didn't have to do much. I just had to give the date that I was ready for, and then suddenly I was already on my way to the test center. So imagine how simple that is for me. So the stress is just really on passing the test. All the other things were easy already as it is.
So now that you have decided to take your IELTS examination with the British Council, please tell us more about your actual examination experience. Like, how early did you arrive at the examination venue? How would you rate the staff, the test invigilators? And
Mhm,
do you find the examination venue conducive? Like,
mhm.
is it noisy? Is it crowded? So tell us more about your actual examination experience with the British
Okay.
Council.
Yeah. So, Sir Irvin, from day one. So, for example, because my registration was course through Niner, all I had to do was wait for the confirmation letter that I was already registered for the date. Okay, and then eventually, uh, when I was assigned the venue, I just went there, and then things were easy. People were leading me. There were, people were guiding me to where I'm supposed to go. People were seated. Um, all the other participants were also, um, I would say, calmly waiting our turn to take the exam. It was very convenient. The center is also very well ventilated. It's important for a venue like this to keep the people calm. And the only way to do that is if the environment is very relaxing. So the staff of British Council were very accommodating. They were they were patient enough because I think some people were already getting, shall we say, uneasy, waiting. But after that, as soon as we got sorry, as soon as we got our seats down, as soon as we got our seats down, we were ready to take the exam. It's like everything went clockwork. So how would I put it? I didn't even feel the difficulty from day one, and I think to me that's more important because um, all I want to do is focus on passing the test. So imagine if I had to worry about the venue and I had to worry about the other places to go to. So there. So Sir Irvin, I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, it was just so easy. And I think that is important to me. I'm sure
Thank you
for
for
others also.
Thank you so much for letting us know that you had a pleasant experience.
Right.
Sometimes, if there are problems in the beginning, it's going to affect your performance. So, nice to know that it was smooth, and that's why you aced your IELTS examination. Now, we are down to our last two questions. And my next one is,
Sorry.
would you recommend the British Council and the IELTS to nurses who are planning to go to America, knowing that they have a lot of options? But would you recommend British Council and IELTS specifically?
Yes, actually, I have because I guess I cannot recommend something that I did not have myself, right? So I have been sharing that with friends. I've also been sharing that even with, sometimes when we're in a venue, like when we were waiting for our test, we all became friends out there, no? And we found out that we came from different backgrounds, and yet it's like we were we were all united under one spirit. And so what happened here is that after we got out, because I had a good feeling about it, I just talked about it, and then sometimes I would even join communities, and I would give my opinion, and I'd say, well, the three things I'd say: Niner, I'd say British Council, of course, I'd say IELTS, no, because these are the ones that made things work for me. So there.
Thank you for your recommendation. And now, the last part. Please, your last few words of advice to nurses who are still unsure of the steps that they must take in order to fulfill that American dream.
Okay. Okay. So, um, okay, I think what's happening is similar to what I did is when I've decided that I wanted to have uh, a different approach to my future, and that is moving to the US. So I had to do it step by step. You know? I of course talked to people, but at the same time I read and I tried to research, and eventually It led me to deciding what test to take, joining Niner, going through British Council, and now I will have to decide which state to go to, at the same time which agency to work with. So you don't really have to rush, but you have to make sure that you do it. You take your time, but you have to decide um, which way to go. And at the same time, when you've decided, you'll have to force, to go through it all the way. There may be some snags every once in a while, but that's okay. It's going to happen because at the end, it's still a better future that you're looking for. So don't be scared. Just just forge and then go ahead and follow your dream.
I like that part when you said be decisive. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now, you've heard the inspirational success story of Miss Tel, who passed her IELTS with the help of AMN Healthcare International 9.09er English and the British Council. Guys, 4 weeks from now, we are going to feature another nurse, an IELTS passer, who also made it with the British Council Philippines. Guys, 2 Mondays from now, Sir Brian will join me once again for free lectures on IELTS speaking, writing, reading, and listening. And don't think it's just free English lessons here at AMN Academy. Every second and fourth Monday of the month, it's the turn of NCLEX Review Center partners of AMN to give you free lessons on next generation NCLEX. So don't forget, that's Monday, 9 p.m. Philippine time. But there's also another show here on AMN Healthcare International Facebook page, and that's Onwards and Upwards show every Friday at 10 p.m. So if you're looking for content that will help boost your morale and actually help you reach the United States of America, there's just one channel to remember, and that's AMN Healthcare International. For now, enjoy the rest of your day if you're in other parts of the world, but if you're from the Philippines, good night. We hope to see you in our next Facebook Live session. Good evening and goodbye. Thank you.